It was 1992. We were installed at Davis Base. The mission was not going to last more than 2 months, which then became eternal. The situation was getting worse every day. We thought that the harsh climate was the only problem there in Antarctica, but we were really wrong. I was hired to do a mission in Antarctica, but I was never told what kind of mission it was until we got there. When I arrived at the Davis base, I expected to find at most 10 agents, but there were at least 250 people, including military personnel, scientists, even important politicians. Everything became strange as soon as I stepped on Antarctic land. The mission was informed to us after 21 days of install. We spread out in different bases. There were even personnel far away from us for kilometers. One night of the 21 that we were until we left, the sky turned red. But I mean blood red. It didn't make any sense to us. The sky was in blood. We all left the base to observe this phenomenon. The scientists looked at each other. They had no idea what was happening, and then I thought, okay, this is happening all over the world, but no, it had only happened there. Then you realize that these things only happen in Antarctica. We were told that we were going to be taken to some remote islands in Antarctica. We thought, well, we traveled to a remote base at the South Pole to return to some islands on the peninsula. What was the point of this? We left, as I was saying, 21 days after I had arrived, and most of them had arrived as well. They were 4 leaders who commanded quite large groups, and they were in a hurry to reach those islands on that specific date. There was no possibility of failure, they said. We left without the slightest idea of what we had to do. They told us, when we get to those islands, we will tell you all about this mission. That is the moment you start to regret a little bit to have left the continent. It was good money, you know. There was good money at stake. That is why most of them ended up accepting this mission at the end of the world. I couldn't point them out. The damn islands are not on any map. Anyway, even if they were, I couldn't tell you where they are. The way there was even longer than from my country to Antarctica. It didn't make any sense. At one point, I said to the pilot, "Are you taking me back home or what? I'm about to jump right now." Then you realize that you are in the middle of nowhere and you regret having said that. You are in the middle of nowhere. And suddenly, islands appear. Another climate, vegetation, as I say, Antarctica lacks logical sense. It is inexplicable, you have to live it just to understand it. We arrived there, and there were other soldiers that I have no idea what kind of clothes they wore. I have never seen that in all my life as a military man. They were blue and white, pale for the most part, with bulging grey and light blue eyes. They didn't look humans. Those people seems from another world, you know. They were like robots. They followed everything in detail. Several times during the following days, I got into a fight with several of them. Because their attitude bothered me. They treated us like dogs, but they didn't even bother to listen to me. They followed everything in a synchronous way. It seems that they all thought the same thing at the same time. It was a complete madness. They never introduced themselves. They addressed themselves to the chiefs, only to the high-ranking ones. They didn't even look at the rest of us. They were military, but they lacked any kind of human gesture. I still believe that these people were not human, they only gave orders. For night, they were like a movie. You could see light in the sky almost all the time, red, blue, green and yellow light. It was an airport of who knows what kind of technology. One night we saw thousands of those lights colliding. There was a damn war in the skies of those islands. We looked at us, astonished. What could we do? A comrade who knew one of the leaders very well because he was a friend of his deceased father, asked him several times what the hell was that, but he never answered. Go to sleep and get ready, they told us. We had gone to a war without knowing it, and we didn't even know what we're fighting against. No, they were only at great distance from where we were, but the night of the fires in the sky, as we baptized it, was incredible. There was fire in the sky, do you understand? And it stayed there for a long time, in the very emptiness. Something was burning. Then we saw several lights fall, but never near us, nor did we hear anything fall in the ocean. They seemed to disappear, like a war of ghost ships. When the fortnight passed, a helicopter of the forces took us to another point of the islands. It never landed. We had to unload and descend from a considerable height. We were trained. We understood at that time that it was dangerous to descend. Otherwise, why the hell would the helicopter leave us from there? Difficult times were coming. We looked at each other. We were four. We knew very well that this mission was armed not to return, but we were already in the middle of the hurricane. What could we do but to jump and face whoever? We were told, go and fight, soldiers, that is what you were paid for. You are facing the most powerful enemy that the earth can receive, and you are the ones in charge of making them retreat. That was before we jumped. Then we were down with fear. It was a loosey idea commanded in a loosey way on a remote island that didn't appear on the maps against enemies that didn't appear in the history books either. The enemy were those damned robots that sent us there. With the complicity of the leaders of our force, we met there with several comrades also in the same mission. Few had survived. They told us some key points of the place. There were 12 soldiers left out of 250 people. Do you understand that? It was a damn slaughter. We met on the coast at a distant point to which we descended, and there could settle down in a calmer way, according to the other soldiers. They couldn't attack us there. But what can you know about an island that we didn't know? Absolutely nothing, you know? The enemies that your question referred to were the giants there. Some were even 5 meters tall. I have seen people so tall that you can't imagine. Some of them were peeking through the trees. When I saw the first one, I wanted to go home. Life becomes diminished. You start to realize many things. Your life is in extreme danger. On a remote island with giants surrounding you. If you escape from there, there were the robots in blue And if not, you had to cross the Antarctic, which was an eternal white blanket that no one could walk on. What can you do then but join your comrades and face whatever comes your way? We were soldiers after all, we had been strictly trained, but the situation was beyond anyone anyway. "15 days, that seems like 15 years. I'm not lying to you, I would have preferred a damn shale. You couldn't sleep, we didn't know the vegetation nor the animals there, everything was strange and different. One day we saw a mammoth, can you imagine that? Seeing a mammoth in this century? All the reality you have in your mind is completely lost. You enter a kind of trance where your eyes show you something and your mind doesn't believe it. You start to go completely crazy. This giant never attacked us, but they came too close to look. They watched us from afar. They intimidated us. We had our rifle in hand, always ready, but what could we do against these beasts? Their size was bestial. We couldn't even tickle them. We believed that it was not even the real mission. They took us from there as a laboratory rabbit. They experimented with us. It seems like a game where those damn robots didn't miss any detail. We shot at the giant that came too close. We heard the order to shoot and we didn't stop. They were bursts of bullets. The giant fell after about 10 minutes of being hit. It never defended itself. It was the worst thing we could have done. We couldn't do anything. As soon as the giant fell, others came out enraged. The war started there. You cannot make any mistake in those islands. The giant had technology that I had never seen before. They shot blue rays at us. I think it was cobalt. They pierced several comrades. Everything became unreal in a second. Hours were falling like flies. We ran as far as we could. When I looked back, there was no one left. Not a single one. I was the only one running for my life. The giants were looking away. If they wanted to kill me, they could do it. I guess they felt sorry for me. I don't know, but they let me live. When I slowed down because my breath wouldn't let me continue, a helicopter appeared above my head and a ladder came down quickly. I didn't hesitate. I climbed up without thinking about it. It was the same pilot who had come to look for survivors. There was no one left. I had fled as best I could, but I'm sure they spared my life. Then we arrived at the previous point of the island, where the pale ones were, and they locked me in a room. I told them my history and everything that had happened. Obviously, they told me that I could tell them everything, that nobody would believe me anyway. And they took me out of there the same way I had come in, through the eternal white blanket to the Davis base.